Hey, how you guys doing? So I'm going to show you guys how to draw Steve from American Dad. And so this is Neil from masterpaintingnow.com, also from Udemy, top art instructor there, and also best-selling author of How to Draw Awesome Figures on Amazon. Let's go ahead and get started with Steve. So whenever you're drawing any sort of character at all, you want to study what they look like. Study how big their head is in relation to their body and so forth like that. So Steve, in his most basicness, has a body, something about the size of this. And then he has his lower portion. Then he has his legs. And his legs, he's pretty short. He's like this. And he has his feet, right? So that's a basic idea of the body. You want to get the basic shapes down first. Think of it as in basic shapes. I know it's like drawing a dog with, circles and triangles seems ridiculous. I never wanted to learn that stuff, from art books and when I was in school. But it's really important because it helps you break down the basics of how everything looks. And once you have that down, then it's pretty easy to kind of add all the details to it. So don't try to start from details. Instead, try to start from the basic shapes, and you'll find it's much, much easier to actually draw anything. In this case, Steve. Right, and he's very thin, so we'd actually make all this right here thinner. Now his head is actually wider than his body is out here, and it's kind of a squatted circle, and so his head is probably around that big or so. And that's the most important part. That's the part we're really going to focus on in this tutorial, is how to draw his head. Now, if I want to make this whole thing bigger, I can. Let me go ahead and see how much detail I can add in this right now first, though. Yeah, so I think I want that a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is, if you're using Manga Studio, you can just grab your drawing here, extend it. This isn't a Manga Studio tutorial, so just make this bigger in whatever program you're used to using. You should know how to use the program that you're using. I'm going to move this down here, make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Alright, so now I have the head. We can start drawing it. I'm going to make a slightly bigger eraser here. I'm going to erase a lot of this, so we just have the basic idea here. So we have this kind of circle. It's kind of squatted, and it's bigger than his body. We're going to first divide it in half. I'm going to use the 3/4 turn here, because that's typically what all cartoons, that's their most common way that they're presented. And we'll have his neck and everything right about here, his body and his collar and all that. Right, so we're going to zoom in here a little bit more on the head. Now this division point, that's about where his nose is going to be, and so then that's where the point of his nose is going to be. So you want to go ahead and draw a little bit higher than that middle point, and then I kind of draw almost like at an angle like this. This is about what his nose looks like. Looks like a shape about like that. Once you have that down, then you can kind of just like lay in some sketching for where the eyes would be. Now you know from the nose down here, this is where the perfect circle kind of gets more squat, and you kind of cut off part of that circle there, like so. And also over here, we're going to cut off part of the circle as well. This gives us a basic shape of his head. The glasses are actually going to go from a little bit higher than the point of his nose, almost to the point of his nose. That's where the glasses are going to extend out. They're quite large, and they kind of curve, and they have this shape like this, and they overlap. So we're just going to go ahead and get the basic shape here. Again, use basic shapes at first, kind of start plotting everything out that way, and then we'll go from there. Now, typically when you draw a face, you learn that the eyes are about an eye width apart. And that's not the case with every single character, especially cartoon characters. But one kind of interesting thing is if you look at like maybe where his pupils might be, let's say one pupil's here, the other one is going to be like, I don't know, almost an eye length apart. Like if you take this distance here, it's almost that distance apart pretty much, like this of his glasses. And that's where his other pupil would be. We'll go ahead and lay in the glasses here. We can kind of just think of a rectangle going all the way across. This goes to the other side of his head over here. And it comes down, falls the same height like so. And they go down to his ear. Now his ear actually falls right here on the outside of the head in that middle line there. Like so. Now the hair is pretty easy to do. All you have to do, you want to make sure there's enough distance here between the ear and the hair. So I'm going to actually move the ear out just a little bit further. If you find that you're using pencil and you made the ear, just erase it, make it stick out a little bit further. So I'm going to have the side of the head come out right here. Now the actual part of his jaw starts where the ear is right here, and then it will start curving down like this. Right, we'll deal with that in just a second. What's important is that it doesn't overlap the neck, which is common for if you're drawing people, but in this case, the cartoon doesn't do that. Come up to his hairline. His hairline, if you take this halfway point and divide from here to here in half again, that's right about where his, I guess, I don't know if you want to call them eyebrows. They're very just thin little lines that kind of go like this, almost like a caveman, kind of like his the brow bone themselves instead of eyebrows. Let me go ahead and undo that. I kind of made too many lines there. And that's about where they fall. And then it's just a matter of drawing the hairline. So the hairline, again, kind of comes like this, goes across kind of flat and over here. That's where the hairline goes. It's good to study and look at Steve and break him down. So take pictures from the show. There's a lot of stills you can look at and then break them down and look at how it all comes together and how it makes his face. Take measuring points. If you haven't taken any of my courses or watched any of my lessons on how to draw faces, I recommend highly to do that because it makes drawing cartoons much easier. Because once you know the fundamentals of the face and stuff, then it's just a matter of, okay, how much different is this from the standard face? I'll go ahead and ink some of this. Right now, this is just the sketch. We'll go through with the ink pen and ink over with another layer. Now the hair comes all the way out to the side of the ear here, and then it kind of has some spikes coming like this. There's probably another spike here. It's like 3, and then it's like a spike right in the middle. So I like to imagine this middle point where it comes up to about that diagonal line right there. I'm going to put that middle spike in there, and then right there. So now I know he has like 2 more spikes to go, and so I know these aren't big enough. Right, and his other spike has to end right about here. So now I need to know how big the spikes go. I just need to know how many they are and where they end, and that will kind of give you an idea. That's not exactly perfect, but I'm sure they draw it different every single time they do if you look at different frames. Then you have like 1 spike here, and then it has to end right here with 1 more spike, and there's 3 total. So just kind of imagine the 3 spikes in here. This spike right here is a lot smaller, so I'm just going to kind of go like this, and then like this, and like that. Right, so there we have it. You can see it's starting to look like Steve now. And then, he has different personalities. No, not personalities, but different ways to express his personality. I'm going to make the slip of his nose come out a little bit further too. So these are things you can change. You don't have to worry about them being perfect at first. You can kind of change the slope of the nose and stuff as you move along. Right now, depending on what kind of face expression he's making, I mean, sometimes he makes this big goofy smile that kind of starts over here, and it starts way over here by the edge of his mouth, the edge of his head rather. And it kind of comes all the way over here, and it usually comes to the edge of his glasses over in about this area like that. That's usually about big when he smiles, this kind of big goofy smile he does in the show. And then it kind of just comes across like this, and it usually stops somewhere around the nose area. If you make a line coming straight down from the nose, that's about where the lip will stop, and it looks something like that. And then it's a simple curved line, and then where his tongue might be, and then this will all be shaded in. That's a typical smile you'll see on him a lot. But instead, we're going to go with his just casual kind of face he has when he's kind of like, I don't know, almost like irritated or something like that. It kind of has that Bart Simpson thing going on, kind of where it kind of goes like this, kind of has that kind of shape, but not quite as, pronounced as that. And then just simply has another line. It usually comes with the tip, like go down from the point of his nose, and that's where that bottom lip will start, and just kind of goes like that. Now that right there is probably a little bit too big, so we'll make it a little bit smaller. But like so. Now all of this kind of stays really rounded until we get down to the chin. Just make sure there's a good amount of space before you get to the chin, otherwise you won't look right. And it's the ratio, how everything comes together, ratio-wise, that will make any character look like that character. And that's what you have to study. So whenever you want to draw any kind of cartoon character, just study the ratios of how things are related together. What I mean by ratios, like how far is the distance between here and here, in relation to how big the nose is, in relation to how big the glasses are, and how big the ear is, and all that kind of stuff. And so I already know that the ear needs to be just a little bit bigger. I'm just going to mark that now. This will be, again, this is a sketch for now, and I'm going to ink over it. Now his chin, just where does it line up with? Just look at the pictures of him. You can see it lines up pretty much with his bottom lip and the nose here. All that same line kind of lines up, and he has this double chin, kind of like well, actually, what we should do also is go, well, how far away from the neck is his chin? Because that's important too. And how far away is his neck from his mouth? It's actually a lot farther away from his mouth. So his mouth actually lines up right here. This is all correct where it lines up at. But what I don't have correct here is where the neck needs to turn inward. So what I need to do is I need to go, okay, well, the neck would normally turn inward right about the little bit, I don't know, whatever this part of the glass is. Imagine I'm cut in three, that third quarter right there. That's where the neck is going to start curving inward right here like this. So you don't have a whole bunch of space here on this side of the head. Now you have plenty of space for his chin to fit in here. And again, you have this kind of double chin right here like this. And then the neck will kind of come off. And when the neck comes off, it usually comes off this part of the chin right here. And this is where you have to, draw the different, different ways of how the clothing comes off the neck here. And then usually has a fold like that. And then we'll have just a fold like this, coming up and down like that, showing the three-dimensionality of the shirt, and it kind of just goes back like so. And then there's a line that comes down right here, and that shows the shirt. Shirt's usually open, then he has his under yellow shirt. Right, and that's all there is to it. And so then, I'm going to go and reset this right here. I'm not actually going to draw his entire body, but you can see that, if I were to continue drawing his body, this is about the size that the body would be. And then his arm can be doing whatever you want it to be doing. Maybe it's up, he's holding his cell phone. Maybe it's up and he's shooting someone, or he's like, hey, how you doing? And you can see it looks a lot like him. Right, now let's go ahead and make another layer here. Let's turn this layer down just a little bit, and we'll make a inking layer. I can even use a vector. I'm going to lock this layer so I don't accidentally draw on it. Go to my vector layer. I'm going to use my ink brush here. Make sure I have a good size brush. That's a little too big, so let's go to size 7. That should work pretty good. I like to zoom in nice and well when I'm doing the inking part. And you'll see after the inking, I'll get rid of the line layer or the sketch layer. I like to use different size line work, even though in American Dad they kind of tend to just stick to one size line. It makes it easier to color and everything like that. Right? I like to give it a little bit of style. You might as well, since you're doing an actual drawing of him. You're not trying to animate. If you're animating him, you might want to stick to more simple lines and make it easier to animate. I'll draw just a little bit of his color here. Now, once you get to this point, you can actually go quite fast. We're going to give him that kind of irritated look where part of his eye is cut off by his eyelash there, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Eyelid. Bam. We got Steve-o, man. Now, inking is it's a certain skill, whether you're doing it digitally or not. I think it's something that takes a lot of practice to get good at. Bam, there we go. So now if I go ahead and turn off the sketch layer, you can see we go Steve. Looks pretty similar, pretty close like him. Now I haven't spent a lot of time drawing Steve, so I think that I can make it look more like him. For example, this line right here, I think is off. So I think it doesn't quite, it has a slight, I don't know, more of a curve that kind of curves in more and not so round there. So it looks like it kind of comes in more like this. Usually, maybe even actually kind of comes up a little bit here. Curves probably like that. And there you go. And then you can add color to him if you want to by making a new layer here. I'll make a raster layer for this. And I can probably just fill this in with color and see if that works out. So he's kind of cream colored here. And actually it's probably not going to work. Okay, my bad. So instead what you can do is I'll just do this, and since I'm on the other layer, I can just go like this, go around where I want the skin color to be. Like so. I'm going to do this quickly, so I'm not going to make this perfect, but just to show you the idea of how you can quickly color like this. Once it's filled in, then you take your thing, boom, now it's filled in. If you need to take a pen tool, click on the transparent. So I love about manga, so you can click a transparent color with the pen tool and it turns into an eraser, like that. Go back to the color here. I'm gonna make sure I fill this part in. Then I'm gonna take kind of an off-white color for his eyes. Not that off-white. Let's make it a little more whiter than that. Like so. Using the picker color tool, I'll go ahead and pick that color. And then for his hair, it's kind of a darker brown color, so something like that. Same exact technique, you just go around the edges here, like so. This is where in animating, if you use all just the same width line, you save a lot of time because now you can just fill this in instead of having to do this. But this would be kind of, and also having the exact same thickness of line makes it easier from frame to frame when you're animating to make it look consistent without having like shaky looking lines. Right, so there you have it. Now we have Steve. We could even give him a little bit of red for his shirt here. We'll just kind of fade this off. And then I think everything there looks pretty close. Looks pretty similar. I think I made this line a little too thick. People are really used to seeing how thin the line looks on the show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase those really quickly here. Make it much thinner. Maybe I can even use an entire different. Put this layer on top of here. Go back to my pen layer. Use a much thinner ink pen and then go back to black again. I'm going to kind of make that shape a little different. I'm going to kind of come down at a little bit of an angle like this. Well, not that much of an angle, just a little bit of an angle like that. And there we go, Steve. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed this. Again, my website is masterpaintingnow.com if you want to check out more of my free tutorials. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my book on Amazon, How to Draw Awesome Figures. So if you go to Amazon here, you'll see How to Draw Awesome Figures. It's in paperback. It's also in Kindle edition, so it's up to you which one you want to get. You can either buy it, or if you already have Kindle Unlimited, you can actually check it out for free. The Kindle edition is kind of hard to see everything, so you have to be able to zoom in and out. So make sure to like view it on your phone or something like that. Or if your Kindle actually allows you to zoom in and out. Unfortunately, when it's on the PC, you're not allowed to zoom in and out. So I highly recommend when you download the Kindle edition to download it to your tablet or PC, or not, excuse me, a tablet or phone. That way you can use 2 fingers and zoom in and out on it really easily. Also, if you want, you can check out my novel Bending Nature, which is now in audio format as well. And so it's a different kind of vampire novel. It's really cool. It's under my pseudonym, Samantha Stone, which is also now has become a pseudonym of my girlfriend as well. She helped me flesh out the female character, make sure the female characters stay consistent and feel like females. There's the audio version. Of course, your price would be $19, I think. It's using my account right here, so it's showing it as my discount account. But I think it's $19, or use one of your Audible credits. Paperback version, and then you also have the Kindle version. Paperback version looks absolutely beautiful. Also, for those of you that might know libraries, so that might want it in your library, you can ask your local library, let me know. It's available. Just tell them Bending Nature that you want to see it. Actually, you can actually order it to your local library. So if you want to read this for free, here's a cool secret. You go to your local library and ask them to order it. You say, hey, I want you guys to order a copy of Bending Nature by Samantha Stone. And they can actually order it through, I think it's Baker and Teller. So it's actually available for libraries to order through Baker and Teller. And so yeah, and just say it is available for order. So if you can please order that for me, I appreciate it. And they'll most likely order it for you, and that way you can go to the library and get it for free. And I'm gonna try to get it in as many libraries as possible. So yeah, there's a free way to get it. It's actually a free way to get a lot of books, by the way. If your book or if your library doesn't carry a certain book, and they make a library version of it, it's like available through Baker and Teller, like my book is, then you can actually order it to your local library and have it that way. Also, I do have some Audible, um, I guess, gift cards. They gave me 25 of them. I only have 24 left. Actually, I only have 23 left. Sorry. The thing is that I only ask that if you check it out for free, that you take the time to leave a review on Audible, and then that's it. So it's just simple as that, an honest review of what you thought of it. It's really cool. I'm making a video here soon of like the first chapter being read. The reader is absolutely awesome. If you go to the Audible version here, the reader, Veda Porter, just does an amazing job. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear this or not. Let me play a sample. Let me see. Hold on. I don't know if I can change it now that it's already on. But if not, actually, what? At the end of this, I'll go ahead and show you a little sample from, because I can actually download the MP3 file. So all right, guys. So stay tuned for that. Right now, I'm about to play you guys a little short sample of Any Nature from and as read by Veda Porter.
Chapter 1. The Museum. I never thought vampires would exist, let alone be from another planet. From Julie Sparks' Recovered Diary. I sort of skip-walked toward the front doors. Before I reached them, though, 3 men in black suits entered the museum. One of them held a black duffel bag. Even with the suit on, I could tell he was well built, and for an older guy, he was pretty good-looking. Flirting with him crossed my mind, just harmless flirting, like smiling at him, yet I was too shy for even that. Like out-of-place foreigners, they paused and studied the room. Then their eyes fixed on me. The one in the middle said, "We're here to take the statue." Okay, I no longer wanted to flirt with a bastard trying to steal Michael. What? No one was scheduled to take the statue. Everyone who worked there knew how I felt about Michael, and they would have told me. Marching past me, they advanced toward the statue. The one in the middle laid down his duffel bag next to Michael, opened it, and drew out a black rope with clips on the end. It was the same rope that rock climbers use. At least, it looked like the ropes I used when rock climbing last summer, or tried to anyway. After the man in the middle handed the rope to the other men, they looped it around Michael. They couldn't do this. They needed permission. "I'm going to get the manager," I said. The one I assumed to be the leader casually approached me. "Can't let you do that." Keeping a straight face, he backhanded me. I slumped to the floor like a limp doll. Dazed, I looked up at him. I had never been hit that hard before. Come to think of it, I had never been hit before, except that one time playing volleyball. Eyes filling with tears, I screamed, hoping the manager would hear me. The leader's evil presence became more apparent as it began to overshadow the peacefulness and warmth of Michael's, like black seeping into white, creating shades of gray that darkened with each pass. I thought about the leader being evil blackness, hiding behind a good-looking mask. If I were only strong enough to hurt him, to stop him. Please, God, help me. The leader gripped my hair, dragging me toward Michael. The smell of his manly musk disgusted me. In an attempt to break free, I kicked, squirmed, and clawed at his wrist, ignoring the pain on my scalp. But then he caused more pain by digging his fingers into my arm. We both stopped struggling upon hearing the creaking sound again, louder this time. The men glanced around as if looking for the source. The leader released my hair, relieving my tender scalp from the burning pain. When he headed for Michael, I scuttled back, crab-walking, not stopping until I was as far from the creep as possible. With my feet, I pushed myself against the wall. Then, trying to shrink, I pulled my knees to my chest and hugged them. I just wanted to sit there and cry and pretend none of this was happening. My heart raced. What do I do? I didn't know what to do. I couldn't think straight. A popping sound echoed through the room, and the men stepped away from the statue, staring at it as if waiting for it to move. With a thunderous sound, a large crack appeared on Michael's chest and spread down his legs and across his arms. Pieces of stone crumbled to the ground, revealing a pale boy. Dust rose. He flapped his massive wings, and the remaining pieces of stone crashed against the marble floor. The wind created by the fluttering of his wings rippled through my hair. My heart thumped so hard I thought I might die. This couldn't be happening. Must be a dream. Wake up, Julie. I had no idea what in the hell to do. My thoughts seemed to overlap, telling me to run, scream, cry, but I sat unmoving as if I had become the statue. What on earth just happened? The three men stared like pigeons looking up at a shotgun barrel, sensing danger but still wondering, hey, what's that? I must have shared their expression because, though a statue had burst to life, I didn't sprint for the doors. Michael crouched and glared at the leader, revealing his sharp, angry fangs. I flinched. He catapulted from the floor, his movement a blur. The next thing I knew, Michael was on top of the leader, with wings outstretched, arching over the scared little man. He sank his devil fangs into the man's throat. Through my tears, I cried out, "Oh, God!" I struggled to keep my lunch down. After another blur of movement, the second man was flung 10 yards, smashing headfirst into a painting on the wall. It made the sound of a hammer striking a coconut. My stomach turned upon seeing the blood splattering against the wall and painting. The leader sprinted for the doors, realizing what the shotgun did to his pigeon friends. In a flash, Michael was behind the man, tearing into his neck. The leader squirmed in the arms of the devil man, kicked, twitched, and finally went limp. Michael faced me and glanced up from his crouched position, his shiny eyes catching my fearful ones. As if ashamed, he dropped the body, looked away, and with his forearm wiped the blood from his mouth. Was I next? None of this seemed real. I surveyed the room. I was in the middle of it, where peaceful Michael had once stood under lamps. There was a hallway on each side of me, but they were the same distance as the front doors where Michael stood. Even if I tried, I wouldn't make it to either hallway before he sank those scary fangs into my tender neck. I was the remaining pigeon, the practically retarded one, who would have tried to eat the gun that had blasted her friends to bits. Because Michael turned completely around, I could only see his backside. He stretched his wings out as a man stretches his arms after a long day of work. Afterward, he tucked them close to his body. Then, the strangest thing happened. His wings shrank, retracting into his back, under his shoulder blades, and completely vanished. His back was smooth now, very human-like. I didn't remember moving, but I was now on my knees, my hands trembling at my sides. The thought of running crossed my mind again, but I didn't know where to go. Slowly, he twisted around to face me. Our eyes locked. From this distance, his eyes looked like dark shadows with a hint of shine in them. They reminded me of the way a cat's eyes look in the dark when light hits them just right. Hair black, long, and draped down the sides of his face, he looked like a sexy anime character. A sexy, evil anime character who transforms into a demon and slaughters humans. My eyes traced down his slim yet well-built body. I must have been in shock, horrified, something, because it wasn't until that moment that I realized he was naked. If he didn't look like a young man, I wouldn't have blushed and looked away. When I glanced back up at him, he dropped his head, abashed, and fled out the front doors, leaving behind a long streaked blur. Without thought, I lunged forward, my arm extended, reaching for him. I wanted to say something, tell him to wait, but he was gone. Belatedly, I realized the insanity of my behavior. Why did I want him to stay? He just murdered 3 people, and I wanted to talk with him? Shock. That must be it, I said to myself. I took a moment to survey the damage, wondering how my manager, Frank, didn't hear the earlier commotion. I didn't know what to do. Call the police, get Frank. You see, officer, the statue came to life, and I said to myself, they'll think I'm nuts. So I did what any 17-year-old girl would do in my situation. I ran. Once I was a good distance away, I slowed my pace and walked the city streets. The nightlife was active as ever. Flashing neon signs, low-rider cars, half-naked women, and trash-filled sidewalks decorated downtown San Francisco. Oh, and the gay couple making out on the street corner. The open gayness the city by the bay is known for didn't bother me. I'm sure to any outsider the nightlife in San Francisco would seem wild, a devil's playground, or perhaps they would relish in it. If they traveled near Haight Street, they would be welcomed by hookers on every corner, their pimps close by. They would pass porn shops every other building and filthy strip clubs often enough. But to me, it was everyday life. The nightlife didn't seem so dark in comparison to what Michael did, yet I wanted to see him again. Oddly enough, I wasn't afraid of him. Not anymore. I needed to see him again, and that was pretty twisted. Something must have been wrong with me. I couldn't explain it. All I knew is the same peaceful feeling Michael used to give me. I'd felt again when he'd stared at me before he'd fled out the doors of the museum. Maybe people were right about me being naive. Maybe they were right to believe that one day I would end up beaten and left for dead in a dark alley. I covered my hands with my long sleeves, crossed my arms, and walked. As I passed, a group of punk rockers a little older than I was, one of them said, "Bud for sale." Without taking my eyes off the ground, I kept walking. Even if I did smoke weed, and I didn't, I wouldn't have responded. I was too shy. The punk rockers were far behind me when I passed by a dark alley and heard the same swooshing sound I'd heard at the museum. Startled, I jerked and looked up. It sounded like it was coming from above me, but I didn't spot anything. Yet I sensed a familiar, tangible presence. The same peaceful feeling Michael had brought to the museum. Keeping my eyes fixed on the alleyway, I walked backward down the sidewalk, imagining Michael crouched down, hiding in the dark shadows. Then, after brief consideration and a short pause, I stepped into the alley, knowing only big-breasted airheads in horror flicks would have done something so stupid. Then, after brief consideration and a short pause, I stepped into the alley, knowing only big-breasted airheads in horror flicks would have done something so stupid. Then, after brief consideration and a short pause, I stepped into the alley, knowing only big-breasted airheads in horror flicks would have done something so stupid.